Are you looking for the ultimate project and task manager? No matter if you're working alone or with a team, Notion can be the perfect tool for achieving your projects. In this video, we'll show you a tour of our ultimate project and task manager, which will allow you to plan projects with tasks, subtasks, sprints, and more. We also included all kinds of additional features such as planning and review, team page, and calendars. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you find our content useful. So let's dive right in. We'll first be going over the ultimate project and task manager that includes sprints. So in this template, we've included two separate templates, one with sprints and one without, in case that you have different needs when planning projects. So with this one with sprints, we have our projects here, as well as our timeline view. And then you can see your current sprint and tasks all the way here as well. And on the left-hand side, you'll see a navigation bar, and these are synced across the whole template so that you can always access all of these pages from anywhere you are. And then we also have the databases here, which we recommend you not to delete so that the template continues to work properly. So let's just briefly go over each of the pages we've included in this template. So when you click here on projects, you'll see a projects page. And here you can see your projects by status, board view, and so on. So this is just a handy way to see all of your projects in different filters and layout views. And over here, you can see your project planning and review. The next section is sprint planning. And here you can plan your sprints. So you can add a new sprint, you can complete and start new sprints, and so on. And we'll be going over this in more detail later. And underneath here, you can see all your tasks by sprint as well as a view all. Then there's the sprint board and tasks, which we recommend you to use once you have everything set up so that you can really check the current sprint board, as well as the next sprint task backlog. And then we also have all your tasks here by projects, by assignee, incomplete, and view all. And this is regardless of the sprint you're on. And then we have calendars. So in this calendars, you can see your team calendar, you can see your task calendar, and you can see your projects calendar. The next page we have is a team page, and here you can have everyone on your team's directory so that you can see what time zone people are working, their email, phone, and so on, as well as a gallery view if you tend to forget people's faces or you want to add everyone's photos. And then there is team calendar here as well with meetings, availability, and view all. And then we have planning and review, where you can see your planning and review pages for each of your projects, sprints, and a view all as well. And finally, we have a resources page, and this is basically if you need to store relevant resources for your projects, as well as other resources that might be useful for your team. And again, we have a view all option here as well. Now that we've gone through a brief overview of this template, we wanted to show you how we'd go about using this. So as an example, we're going to start using it by adding a project. So in this main dashboard view, you only see active projects, so those that are in progress, planning, and so on. And in timeline view, you can see all of them from the to-do to the complete projects. So if you want to just simply add a new project, you can do so already from this front page. So we're just going to go ahead and click plus new here. And we can start by thinking of a project that the Organized Notebook might have. And we actually in February are planning to launch a finance tracker. So we're going to go ahead and type. And here you can choose to add an owner if there is someone in charge of this project. In this case, we're just going to put both of us since we're both going to be working on it. The priority for this project is very high for us right now, and we're going to start planning it. So we're just going to keep it to planning. But as you can see, there's multiple statuses you can choose from backlog, planning, in progress, pause, canceled, and done. And we're going to set the start and end date. So you have to click the end date here in order to do that. And we're going to go ahead and set it for the month of February, like this. And this completion is going to get calculated once you have tasks inside, so we're not going to worry about that. And the blocked by is if you are planning in timeline view. So we can actually show you that here. So in timeline view, you can actually connect these like this so that if some project is required for the next project, you can also add this as well. But in this case, we don't have anything blocking this project, so we're just going to keep that empty. And now we can go ahead and add a description here if you'd like. So we would add something like, and then in planning and review, this is where we'd first create a project planning sheet. So we're going to do project planning. And once you have that, you can actually open it up and choose project planning here in the templates. And that's going to automatically set the date. And don't worry about the sprints, as this is for if you're doing sprint planning. So here in project plan, you can start planning out your project. So you can kind of just brainstorm things that you might need to do or any notes. So this is a good place to store any brainstorming sessions. And then we can go back to our project here, which is launch and develop a finance tracker. And the next step in this is going to be to add project tasks. So we're just going to go ahead and add a bunch of tasks that would be required in order to launch this finance tracker. So we're just going to show you 3 tasks here so that we can show how to use it. So basically now we have a board view of our 3 tasks needed for this project, as well as you can see it in a table view like this as well. And if you'd like, we will fill more of these tasks in later. So now the next thing we can do is also to add a project resource. So let's say that there is some user data in what kind of things that users want to add in their finance tracker that we've collected. So we're just going to put user data about finance tracker wishes. And here we'll just put something like data. So we can just tag it in and then attach files and media here. And the last thing we recommend you to do is just to add a cover photo so that you can see your project in a nice way. So we're just going to go to change cover and go to Unsplash, and we'll just look for a picture relating to finance. So now we've planned out our project here, and we can move on to the next step. So the next step is to plan your sprint. So we're going to go to the left side here and then click sprint planning. And here we've already included the current sprint, the next sprint, and a future sprint so that we can get you started on this. And basically all you have to do is to click open the sprint that you see in current. And what we're going to do is now we can start planning. So here you'll see some place to add some notes if you need. And then we can also check here for planning and review. So just like in projects, we're going to open up a new planning page. So we're going to do sprint planning like this, and we're going to open it up here. And you can go ahead and click sprint planning. So now we're in sprint planning, and this is a great place to brainstorm your sprint. So you can just kind of write out some ideas here or things you want to note down for this sprint. And then the next step is to check the backlog in your current sprint and backlog section. So all the tasks that we just added through the projects is now going to appear here because it's not connected to any sprint. So this task 1 is just a task we added initially into the template. So you can go ahead and delete that. But all 3 of these tasks are those that we added through the project. So what we can now do is if you want to just simply move all of them to the current sprint, you can actually just click these like this or click like this, and then you can click the 3 dots here and then edit property and click sprint, and then you can see current here. So you want to move them all to current. And once you move them all to current, they're going to be removed from the backlog, and you'll now see them inside of current sprint like this. So now your tasks are connected to the current sprint. And if you just want to simply change one task into another sprint, you can also just do that by changing the sprint property. But we think that it's quite useful just to bulk and move them to current sprint like we just showed you now. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the sprint, and now we can see our board view here correctly and the way that we wanted. So we can go ahead and close that. Now you can see here tasks by sprint. So all of those that are incomplete can be shown here. And you can also see all of your sprints and tasks here regardless of completion in case you need to see that. So now we can move on to the next step. So the next step is to go to your sprint board and tasks. And here is where you'll probably spend the majority of your time once you have your sprint set up. So now that you have the sprint set up, you'll see current sprint here. And basically, you can just simply click it open and start filling it in. So if you need to add a due date, you can start adding due dates. And you can add estimated hours, actual hours, and these are going to be calculated later inside of the project, which is quite useful so you can see exactly how much time was spent on it. So we'll go ahead and just put some numbers here so you can see what would happen. And then you can also add a reporter. So if Anne is working on this and she's going to ask me about it later, then we can just put me here. And then you can also add files and media. And here we can also add a description to the task if we'd like, as well as add subtasks. So if you have to break down this task, then we can check here, research, for example, Etsy, research, Notions, templates, and so on. So, and then let's say if we finish this part, then it's going to be reflected in this part, and you also see it here. And when you finish them both, they turn green and you can see 2 out of 2 subtasks. So now what we can do is just pretend like we are actually doing the sprint. So let's say that this one gets finished. So we can go ahead and drag it to done. And when you drag it to done, you'll notice on projects that it is getting forward with the completion percentage. So now we're going to show you what to do to end the sprint. So to end the sprint, let's go ahead and go back to sprint planning. And we're going to go ahead and click open the current sprint. And the next thing you'll want to do is to click plus new in planning and review. So we're going to add sprint review. So this is a great time to go ahead and review how everyone did and so on. So now what we can do is click this open and we can go ahead and click sprint review. So once you have sprint review, you have a place to write down your thoughts. So what went well, what didn't go so well, and things like that. And then you can see your current sprint. So as you can see, only one task got done during this sprint. So maybe that's something that we can work on for the next time. And you can even note something down about it. And once you're done with this, we can just go ahead and close it up. And then you're ready to click complete and start next sprint. So clicking this complete and start next sprint completes the current sprint. So it's going to move the status to past and it's going to bring up the next sprint as the current. So let's go ahead and click it. So as you can see now, sprint 2 is in the current slot and the past sprint is sprint 1. And you'll want to make sure to keep adding new sprints into the next here so that you can continuously add more sprints here with this button. So what we recommend you to do immediately after clicking this button is to go ahead and also add a new sprint here. So if we're on sprint 2, we might want to add a new sprint called sprint 3. And this gets tagged as the future, but you can go ahead and change it to next so that you know that this is the next one you want to have here. So once you have that set up like this, then we are ready to then start the whole process again. So if you click open sprint 2, now you'll see again a notes section of planning and review. And this time, when you click this sprint planning section, sprint planning, you'll notice that all of your tasks which were not complete in the last sprint are going to be shown up inside of the backlog. So we can go ahead and click backlog again, and you'll see that those 2 tasks that were remaining in the past, they're here now. So you can again go ahead and either change the sprint to sprint 2, which is the current one, or you can do the other way where you click this button and then move them to the current sprint. So we can click here and then we can go to the 3 dots and click edit property. And then we'll click sprint and you can choose current. And now it's going to be showing in the current sprint like this. So this is a really useful way to do sprint planning. So the rest will just follow the similar cycle that we already showed you. Now let's go to the next step where we complete a project. So next we'll be going to the projects page here. And here we'll see that we have launch and develop a finance tracker. And let's say that it's going to move along in our process and we decide that this is done. So we can click it open and we can already go ahead and move it to done. And if there's any outstanding tasks, you might want to move them all to archive. So to do that, we recommend you to go to table view and just check what's not done here. So you could just move it all to archive so it doesn't show up anymore. And then we are basically done with this one. So we can go ahead and add a project review. So we can go review like this and open it up and choose project review. So now you can see project review and you can choose what went well, what do you want to continue doing or do next time, and issues, things that went wrong, next steps, action plan, and notes. So you can really review your project and how it went. And then that's basically it for the project planning and review for this project. So you can now just continue to add new projects and you can even plan them out through the timeline view as well. Next, let's go over some additional features. So we've included calendars here. So calendars are where you can see your team calendar, such as weekly meetings or availability. So let's say that Anne is away during these days. You can simply tag Anne like this, and now you know that she is away during this day. And let's say that for this one, we have a weekly meeting for the both of us. So we would tag it like this. And if you want to see all of your tasks, you can also see them here if they are dated. So not all tasks are dated, but now we see here that this one is dated. Then we also have projects here as well. So you can see that this one is done. And every time you have a calendar in Notion, now you can actually simply open it up in the calendar app. So if you haven't tried this already, every time you see this button, you can simply click it if you have the app. So let's say we click open in calendar. So now we just loaded our calendar here and we can now see our team calendar. So Anne is away and weekly meeting. So this is quite useful as well if you want to have it inside of this Notion calendar app. The next thing we wanted to show you is the team space. So here you can add your team directory. So let's say that we're going to add Anne here. We can just click Anne and we can add a person tag for Anne, and you can put a position as well as email, phone, and working hours. So this can be quite useful to add people. And below you can again see the team calendar, but this time we have separated them based on the tag. So this is all of the meetings, this is all of the availabilities, and this is view all. And if you want to add additional tags, you can do so. So for example, if you add tag 3 for some kind of different type of calendar, you can do tag 3 like this, and then it's not going to show up on meetings anymore. But if you click filter, you can show this tag, or you can simply duplicate this one like this and rename it tag 3 and filter it by tag 3. So now you can see this one. So this is how you can create new tabs for your team calendar. Then we have planning and review, which we recommend you to do through either projects or sprints. And then here we have all of our resources. So you can see your project resources, other resources, and a view all. So the next thing we wanted to show you is some customization options. So it's quite likely that you might want to add different progresses through your task. So right now we have not started in progress and done, but for example, if you wanted to add a column that's called testing, then you could simply do it by going to the 3 dots here and then going to properties, and then you'll have to look for status and click the arrow here. And now you can see all of our options. So let's say that we want to add an additional column here called testing. So now we have another column here called testing, and you can even change the color by clicking this. And for example, we can put it as orange, and you can drag it around in the order that you'd like. So that's one way to add new status tags. Additionally, we also really recommend you to check out the automation features in Notion, especially for this kind of project and task management. So if you have the Plus plan, you can add automations. So what we recommend is to connect it with Slack, which is quite useful for communicating across teams. So if you wanted to, you could click this lightning bolt and set up a new automation that when a task goes to done, it would send a notification to Slack. So if we put add trigger, you can go ahead and, for example, put the status. And if the status is done, then we can add an action to send a Slack notification to a Slack channel. So you'll have to connect this, but let's say that we just connected it to general. And then we can click create. So now if we create a task inside Sprint 2, such as task test, and we can just go ahead and add some things here, and then we can move it to done. So now we see this task reflected in our Slack channel like this. And sometimes it takes a while for it to appear here. So just be patient and wait for it. But it's going to send a notification, which is quite useful if you are working as a team. So finally, we'd like to also show you a bit of the Ultimate Project and Task Manager that doesn't use sprints so that you can sort of see what that one is like. So if we go to that template, it basically looks the same, but it's based off of just simply tasks, and you can change your tasks into backlog so you can only see your current board. So instead of working on things as a sprint, you can work on things based on task backlog. So if we open up projects, you'll see your tasks here based on just the current tasks, and you'll see backlog and archived, and you can check your backlog here so that you can move them into this not started in progress done. And you can see things by project and check your task backlog here as well. And then if we go just simply to task board, you'll see board view by assignee, by project, and another backlog space here, and all of your incomplete tasks. And everything else is pretty much the same. The calendars are team tasks and projects, so we just remove the sprints part here. And in planning and review, you can simply do project planning and project reviews. And finally, in resources, it's just projects, other resources, and view all. So everything pretty much looks the same, and we would generally follow the same path in order to plan your projects, but you can just skip the sprint planning and review section and get straight to the tasks. So we hope that this was useful for you. We'll leave the link to the template in the description below. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything that was confusing in this video, feel free to let us know, and we hope to see you in the next video.